Hello, it's Simon. I'm outside, and as you can see, it is a glorious sunny day here in the UK. The weather's 29-30 degrees, which for us is crazy hot. I've also been places in the world in my life where that actually would be a cold day, places where 39 and 40 becomes the norm. And we get used to things, we get conditioned by the environment, the outer and the inner. And today, one of the things I'm thinking about a lot as we go into today, which is this Integrity Day, Integrity Day 4 of Bucky's, this idea about what actually it means to leave a legacy. One of the things we've been talking about, how Bucky would actually do experiments and he'd write them down, he'd document his journeys, his adventures. And today we can do that more easily than ever. This video is an example of that. I can record a video, I can capture some audio, I can type some emails. And yet these archives today are seemingly overwhelming. The amount of information you can create in a few weeks, a few months, I think is quite profound. If you were to record every single conversation, every hour of your life, well, that's great, but who's going to watch it and how can you leverage it? So I've been thinking a lot about that and how the systems we have around us may not optimally be serving us. They may have got us to here, and they clearly have. We're here watching this video, recording this video, being in this conversation. But what do we need to go where we want to go to next? I've talked on recent videos about how the weather can impact us, the environment, these seasons and cycles. And right now, truthfully, what I need is a hat, I need some shade, I need to get in a swimming pool, cool down a bit for me. But later on tonight it might go cool again. We've got some thunderstorms coming, I'm sure, in a few days. And we need different environmental factors and different systems to handle these things. Whether that's simply the shell of the house, the shell of our clothing, whether that's the bigger systems of our friends, our family, our weather networks. All these things go into the life we lead and the systems we live inside of. So how do we share our wisdom? How do we share what we've learned? How do we do that in a way that empowers people with integrity? I could give away everything I've known, hours and hours of content, but if nobody's engaging with it, they're not wanting that content, is it really serving and adding value? I'm sure that's the same for you too. You have incredible insights that you could share. But how do you do that in a way that actually empowers people? And if 8 billion people were simply broadcasting and talking and talking and talking, but nobody's listening, nobody's looking, nobody's learning and nobody's applying, well, how are we going to get further faster? And equally, if everybody keeps saying the same thing again and again and again and again, well, that might be helpful to install these foundationary basics. But sometimes we want to build on things, we want to dance in the conversation of life, we want to go a bit further and faster. Well, how do we learn how to do that? How do we really learn to collaborate in a whole different way? I've been really moved and touched with my partners I've known, some of them for decades, who are extraordinary people. And we've had conversations that are really focused on how do we solve this one thing or how do we get this one result done. And we've had conversations sometimes that seemingly go nowhere, that drift from everything from philosophy to movies to simply the thoughts of the day. But that gives us something, a level of trust with each other that I find really valuable. And I think it's possible to have that with anybody. I think truthfully that as a species, one of our great capacities is to say like, hello, hi, how are you? Ni hao ma, salut. All these ways of communicating that allow us to start a conversation and relationship. But we have to do that with a way that allows us to be open. We have to learn how to receive openly and give openly. And we'll talk about it a lot for those who come to Fresh Flow this year. That's freshflow.co on the 9th of September. This whole thing of how do we become better able to give and receive information, give and receive energy, give and receive things in our life, so that we can actually create a flow and momentum, which I think what it's all about. Simply storing all the information, that's not particularly useful. Giving it all away, again, might be useful, but you have to give and receive. You have to have this thing going on to build an increasing vortex of information and creativity. Sharing and learning, learning and sharing. And I think the days where simply the oldest person in the room was the wisest, I think that's come and gone. I think often the youngest people sometimes have a different understanding, a different perspective that can be really priceless today. I've seen how technology has moved on so rapidly in my lifetime that at one point I was clearly ahead of the curve. I knew what was going on, I could code computers, I even used to physically building computers myself. Whereas now we have these things in our hands that require robots to build robots to build them. We are so far advanced to where we were a few years and decades ago, and that's going to continue. Touch wood. Because the truth of it is we don't know what's going to come next. But what we can do is be ready to at least start that journey. And that goes back to this era of teams and family, people that your tribe are working with to build something. And I think if we can be open to having everybody be on that tribe together, pulling together for survival and thrival and abundance, real ethical creativity, that would be quite extraordinary. But I also think there are challenges today with how we can integrally share our point of view, being open to learn without the fear of having somebody chastise us or make us wrong or laugh at us, or at worst actually attack our businesses, attack our ventures, attack our character. And it's all too easy today to throw out an insult, throw out an accusation and smear somebody in a way that people nowadays don't really question. Once you've seen something in the news a couple of times, that's kind of the truth, is how most people operate, not realizing how much of the actual truth is often not what the story can be. And then the challenge comes, how do we find a way to learn and grow? As they often say in the good books, let he who without sin throw the first stone. I think it's very dangerous to become judge and jury of our society. And I love the fact that people can share creative ideas. That's one of the things I most enjoyed in my life, is learning about different perspectives. But I also can see how challenging it can be if there isn't a safe environment to think about them, to process them, to inquire into them, to have somebody guide you in that process. Now, I'm not saying that's me, but I am saying we could create a space where that's the case, where these conversations like today, little 1 to 3 minute, 5 minute, 10-minute videos, could actually cause something good in the world. And if that's the case, then I'm up for that. I'm willing to put my integrity behind it. But for today, don't believe what I'm saying, just think about it. This is what comes up for you and how you can test that, experiment it, so that you know that there's value there for you. If that's the case, we're doing a good job today, and if not, give us some feedback so we can improve moving forward. We're going to enjoy the great sunshine, we're going to head off and have a bit of a walk, I think, and I'll see you on next video. Bye for now. That was Simon Hedley, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.